G'day, guys. Welcome back to Stat Chat Sports. You're here with myself, Josh, Tazza, BT. No Steve on the call. He has caught BT's pink eye. He's out of action for the foreseeable future, but that's okay. The three of us were here. We're ready to go. We've got a massive weekend of AFL finals action to review, fellas. It was an absolute cracker. Tazza, just some epic games of footy, all four of them. Unbelievable stuff.
That is quite likely to be the best week of finals that we'll see. Probably that ever has been and ever will be for the foreseeable future. It was so good. I happened to watch just about every second of all four games, and it was an absolute belter.
It was unmissable viewing. It was absolutely epic. So we're going to cover all those games right now. Before we do, if you like this video, if you like the channel and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Make sure you do, because we're on our way to 500 subs. We're trying to get there before the grand final. So if you can give us a sub, that would mean a lot. But BT, let's kick it off. Brisbane, Richmond, Thursday night. Jeez, this was an absolute classic match. 17 lead changes in this game, BT.
Was it 32 goals, I think, total? It was just end-to-end stuff. There was no pressure on the ball. It was like a home and away game. It's not how we discussed this on our group chat. Tazza was a fan. I wasn't. It was different. Was not expecting that from either of these teams. But nonetheless, it was a good game, close game. Come down to the last, 2 minutes or whatever it was, with Big Joe Danaher. Terrible defending from Richmond. There was controversy. It had everything this game.
So, question for you, Tazza. Did Brisbane win this game or did Richmond lose it?
Richmond lost it. I think given Richmond had two opportunities to sew it up, really. Tom Lynch when that a debacle, we're going to call it, with the review, the goal line review system. That less said about that, better. But Tom Lynch made an absolute meal of it. He could have.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it, Tazza. What was the problem? Did they make the right call?
But they overturned without a definitive view, and in my opinion, that's just not what should happen. We haven't even seen a definitive angle, or I haven't seen one.
My understanding is, and BT, feel free to jump in here and be the deciding vote, but my understanding is that they had the 3 camera angles, and if in all 3 camera angles the ball is over the post, then it's a behind. And I think that's what they saw. So they made the right decision by their own rules. That's my understanding.
In my opinion, yeah, it looked like a behind, and the reaction from the players showed that it was a behind. But also on Tatter's point, they don't normally overturn a goal umpire's decision unless, I can see why it was all over the news. I was the only one who tipped Brisbane, so I was happy. I was a bit biased there, so it was definitely a point.
Up.
So, I don't know. It's a hard one. The only player, you asked Tazza, was this a Richmond win or a Brisbane loss? This was, in my opinion, a Lockie Neal win. Without him, that wouldn't have been close.
Yeah.
Oh,
huge. 16 clearances.
He was epic.
Yeah, he was just everywhere. And that, I'm sure we'll preview it coming up later in the week, but you just have to put someone on him. He runs that whole team.
Yeah. No Neil, no Brisbane, but yeah, that's going to be a massive factor in the game coming up this weekend. Back on Richmond, though, it's a bit of the tail of the season for them, isn't it? 6 games they've had that were decided by less than a goal, and their record, 5 losses, 1 draw, no wins.
It's kind of the opposite to Collingwood, isn't it? They're just they can't get it done. They haven't been able to get it done in the close ones, where Collingwood just seem to get it done every time, apart from the one we will get onto. But in the home and away season, they were dominant in that respect.
So BT, the question for you is, given they lost so many close matches, that's usually a sign that they're not as bad as their record suggests. So do you think that Richmond's going to bounce back next year, or is this the start of the decline for the Tigers? Are they well and truly past the premiership era? Are they on the way out?
They had a fair few key injuries, which obviously plays a factor throughout the season. Dusty, we obviously not as good as he used to be. But Timmy Taranto is apparently signing with Richmond in the offseason. That's a massive win for them.
Yeah.
That's huge. So if they can get a few good signings in there, their defense is still pretty solid. I can see them, like I said, if this wasn't let's say half of those were wins, then obviously they're pushing that top 6, top 4 with pressure on those guys. So a couple wins the other way, it's completely different story right now. So I can see them. They're still a good enough team for me.
Yeah. Disappointing season, but not all doom and gloom for Tigers fans. Let's talk about the next game. Melbourne, Sydney, Friday night. Again, I'm just going to say this about every game. Ripping game. Absolutely great game. And I think I was the only one to tip the Swannies. Little brag there. But what they dished up on Friday night was exactly what we wanted to see from the Swans to just really solidify that they are a legit threat to win this flag this year. They were epic talent.
Yeah, that we kind of thought that Melbourne, well, not you, but I think the rest of us really thought that Melbourne midfield was going to run over the top of those Sydney young guns. But wow, the pressure from Sydney and there, it was just manic. It was insane. Rowbottom had a really good game for me. He was probably close to BOG. He was everywhere. He was doing everything he could. And yeah, I mean, that team believes now. It's so good to see that. I mean, there is no reason why they can't go all the way, in my opinion.
They'll get there. I reckon there is certainty to get there now. Home prelim, and they've got the easy side of the draw as well. So I reckon the Swannies are there. And once you're there, BT, you never know what's going to happen on grand final day.
Oh, for sure. And they've definitely got the right players there who can turn a game. You got Luke Parker, you got obviously a Buddy Franklin. These type of guys are game changers, and they've played in grand finals before. But if the Swannies go all the way and win this, where does this put Buddy Franklin as like one of the greatest players of all time? If he wins a premiership here with Sydney.
Whew.
He's right up there.
Well, he's already up there.
He's already
have to
there.
win the flag with Sydney to be right up there.
But this just elevates him, I think, to that next bracket where people are constantly. We always talk about like a Dustin Martin, a Chris Judd. I think this puts him right up there with those guys.
But my question is, how much influence is Buddy going to have on this flag? Buddy's not the reason that Sydney's going to win the flag if they win the flag.
Well, he's currently paying 41-1 for Norm Smith medal, so I'm on that already.
If he wins the Norm Smith and they win the flag, you can put him at the GOAT. That's GOAT status.
But yeah,
unlikely, but that's GOAT status.
I can see what you're saying. He went goalless, and they still won comfortably. There was a pure team effort that whole game. There was insane pressure. That we compared that game to Thursday night game, completely different. And I haven't seen a game with that much pressure from one side in like quite a while.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. If you've got any thoughts on that, Buddy the GOAT if they win the flag, let us know in the comments below. I want to talk about Melbourne though, because this loss hurts them, especially with some of the injuries that they've encountered from Friday night. Christian Petrarca, Tazza, he's the main one. We're recording this Monday night. Looks like he's going to play, but a fractured leg. I mean, this is problematic for Melbourne's midfield. And I've been saying all year, a couple of injuries to Melbourne, particularly their key players, that spells trouble for me.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think I know Petrarca's a bull and I know he's important to that team, but it's so reckless for me. Well, I don't know how you can put a guy in with that kind of injury. I know it's a hairline fracture. It's not a full fracture. No one's going out on a full fractured leg, but I just think it can just jeopardize the rest of his career for one game. I mean, they've won the flag already. I just don't know whether it's worth the risk, in my opinion.
I can see what you're saying, obviously, like for his career. For this one game, I think their forward line is clearly an issue. Outside of Bailey Fritsch and Pickett, he has his good games. Like Melksham and Ben Brown did absolutely nothing on the weekend. They were dominated. So I think you would prefer a Petrarca in that forward line over a Melksham and then bring in maybe another midfielder or so, whoever they bring in. I think that's something. Or Harms is definitely going to be playing midfield this game.
Harms will be on Neil. Yeah.
Yep. So that's your three midfielders there, and then you've got your rotators who go through. And I think Petrarca's going to play nearly the whole game in that forward 50.
He'll have to play all forward. There's no, you can't risk that in the guts. Surely not.
So that's why I think these injuries, obviously, you've spoke about this all season, Josh, with these injuries from Melbourne and one of their most important players. But I think you have to. Obviously, you're out if you lose this game. Different story. I think if it was the last game where they have another chance, if it was going into the last game with the hairline fracture, this one, I think you just got to do it.
Yeah, if you're a Melbourne fan, let us know in the comments below. But we'll be talking about this game in our game preview of the semi-final. It's coming out later on in the week, so make sure you stick around for that one. Moving on with our reviews. Saturday afternoon. I think this is probably the best game of football I've seen in probably the last, I don't know. I mean, as an Eagles fan, I want to be biased and say the 2018 grand final, but as a neutral, this is probably the best game of footy I've seen in the last 10 or 20 years. Geelong Collingwood, it was just so back and forth all day. Either team deserved to win this match. BT Geelong coming out on top of the death. Gary Rowan, the man that he's been under a bit of scrutiny this week, and he got it done right when he needed to.
And that was with Hawkins doing nothing. Jeremy Cameron had his moments, but he wasn't dominant either. It was reasonably low scoring-ish. It was just a good finals game, two top teams. And I think it showed, even though Collingwood lost this, right at the end, they could have won it, or it could have been a draw. I think this shows that they deserve to be in that top four, even though they've made it and they've just made it through. I think this actually shows that they're up there with these top teams.
Oh, they're a threat. Mm-hmm. They're definitely a threat. Again, we'll get to our tips later on in the week, but they're definitely a threat to, go all the way and certainly challenge if Geelong's there again. There might be a rematch. We don't know, but they were awesome. Jordan De Goey, Tazza. I mean, this man in the big games and the big moments stands up and just time and time again, he got himself in the right position, uses the ball well, threat to kick a goal. He was awesome for the Pies.
Yeah, I think he had 2 goals and was about 26, 27 possessions from memory. He was clearly BOJ for me. But yeah, he's the dual threat. I mean, Collingwood they're going to be careful what they do in the off-season with this, because they're losing a game winner if they do indeed lose him. And I mean, it seems the likely outcome given what we've heard from the media. But if they are to go all the way, he's going to be the biggest part of this team.
Yeah, so he did have a bit of an injury scare, AC joint scan. He's going to be fine. He's going to be playing. No issues there. Taylor Adams, though, much more serious. Looks like he's torn the groin off the bone. Major injury, major setback for the Pies. They've only just got him back. So they're going to have to find something in that middle, BT, to challenge what will be a very strong Fremantle midfield this weekend.
Oh, for sure. And he's like a finals type player. Those contested, finding the ball, tackling type players, they're a big loss when it comes to finals. So that's, so they're going to have to find those 20 odd possessions, but they're also going to need to find these 8 to 10 tackles. And that's hard to do. He's a massive loss. And
speaking of Fremantle, what a win this was against the Dogs on Saturday night. I was watching this as an Eagles fan. Had a bit of a soft spot for Freo because they were down. They looked out, and I'm just going, geez, you'd hate to be a Freo fan right now. WA has been absolutely buzzing purple for probably the last 2 or 3 weeks about flag mantle, and they came out, looked like they'd shit the bed. And then Tazza, one of the greatest comebacks I think you will ever see. The game just completely shifted.
I was so close to just switching off. That end of the first quarter, I thought, what am I doing? I've got better things to do. I'll go off elsewhere. And luckily I didn't, because wowee, it was a comeback for the ages. And Sonny Walters looked like he'd really shit the bed early. And it just looked, there were no good signs. But for me, he was probably the catalyst in the comeback. And there were so many plays that he was integral in that really turn the tide on the Dogs. The one that springs to mind was the Fredericks tackle, and I think it was Gardner that kicked the ball. Oh yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, it might have been Richard. Sorry, yeah, straight to Walters, and I think that put him about 2 goals ahead. It was awesome play, and yeah, very well deserved win in the end.
I think those like half forwards, small forwards from Fremantle, they're probably up there with the most important players for that whole team. The like Switters, Switkowski, Schultz, Frederick, Walters. Their high pressure game is what I think won them that game. Obviously, Sarong and Brayshaw had like quality games in the midfield, but without those half forwards, I don't think they would have made that comeback.
Yeah, couldn't have summed that up more perfectly than that, BT. I think it was a complete team effort from Freo. The belief that they got from a win like that, that's going to hold them in really good stead. Not just for this final series, but in the years to come, they're going to believe that it doesn't matter how much they're down by, that they're a chance and that they can come back. So that just it's an awesome win from Fremantle. Gotta love that, and it's going to shape up an epic contest this weekend.